How's it going, everyone? I hope you all are great. I am Dorkraru and I will start off today's analysis, starting off with the Forex analysis on the Forex pairs, okay? And I will start off with this odd USD setup that is currently running very beautifully in some very nice profits, as we can already see. This setup was legit a sniper entry because we can zoom in closely and see that it barely had any drawdown. It legit tapped us in on the 71 entry on the fib, and then it went straight into profit, smashing take profit 1, take profit 2 here, and the last target would be right there. Okay, so real quick, we can discuss once again about why we took this setup, okay, before we move on to the next pair. So we had a very clean liquidity sweep here, followed by a very aggressive break of structure to the downside. We can see how impulsive the price went straight to the downside, breaking structure here. Then we look closely and we had this very beautiful fair value gap lining up nicely with our fire zone. And then we saw this corrective pullback, which made us pull the trigger and place the sell limits. First entry was tapped in and the rest was history. And if we enable the TradeOrc SMC indicator again, we can see that we had this TradeOrc order block lining up perfectly with our area of interest, and the TradeOrc graph was also very bearish, which gave us the confidence to consider taking this setup. Okay, so yeah, that's exactly why we took it. And like I said, the rest was history. As we can see, it was a very profitable setup. And we can now move on to the next pair. And overall, this week was a very, very good week. This one was a very, very good week. And I'm going to tell you exactly, I'm going to show you exactly why. So we had this this trade here on EuroCAD that also has been tapped in. On this one, again, we had a very nice bearish range, price swept liquidity here before breaking lower aggressively. This fair value gap lined up perfectly with our fire zone. Then we saw the corrective pullback. We placed the sell limit, and the first entry got tapped in, went straight into profit towards TP2. TP1 was hit. TP1 was hit, and yeah, now it's currently running still in some nice profits. Okay, so now we can move on to the next pair, which is USD CAD. Okay, so on this pair, I saw a potential sell limit setup that's very close to getting triggered. Okay, why? Because we had a very small liquidity sweep here before price went super aggressively to the downside, breaking structure. We have this unmitigated order block lining up perfectly with our fire zone. And if we enable the TradeOrc SMC indicator, on this one we don't really have any confluence with it. But again, it's not necessarily needed for us to have a indicator confluence on each trade, because we can solely based on structure as well. Okay, and now we can see that price is pretty close to our fire zone. Okay, and it did had a pretty corrective pullback, because look how price struggled down here to find some bullish momentum to go to the upside. Okay, so for me this looks like a pretty corrective pullback, and now, like I said, price is pretty close to our fire zone, so we will see if it will get tapped into today. Okay, moving on to the next pair, which is GBP JPY. On this one we have a potential buy limit setup. All right, on this one we can see that price impulsively broke structure to the upside and left some imbalance behind. Okay, we also have this unmitigated order block right here that's sitting right on our fire zone, and now we also had a pretty corrective pullback so far. Okay, so we have this huge imbalance that has to get filled. We have this unmitigated order block. We have a very nice bullish structure, and the TradeOrc SMC indicator lines up perfectly. Why? Well, check it out why. We have the graph being bullish on the daily and the 4-hour, and that's pretty much what interests us, because we don't really care about the M15 or the hourly time frame. And then we also have the TradeOrc order block lining up perfectly with our fire zone. Okay, so yeah, now we also have the corrective pullback. We can pull the trigger and place the buy limit orders. Okay, so yeah, that's exactly why this is a valid setup. And next up, we have Euro CHF. On this one, we had a very beautiful sell limit range previously this week that smashed all targets. I'm trying to figure out where that trade triggered. I think it was around here, and then no, sorry, no, it was around here. So let me quickly maximize the chart. And yeah, this was the perfect setup that played out because we entered a sell limit from here. I mean, we already updated this in the Discord, and then all the targets were smashed on this entry. So it was a very beautiful one. But guess what? We found another one. We found another one right here, another sell limit range. Okay. On this one, again, we have a very nice aggressive break of structure to the downside. Imbalance has been left behind, unmitigated order block. Okay, and now we want to see a corrective pullback towards our fire zone. That's what we want to see. That's the remaining step. And if we enable the trade org indicator, again, super good confluences. We have the trade org order block lining up perfectly, as well as the graph. Okay, we can see every single time frame is bearish, so that's very, very nice. And yeah, this setup is definitely valid. Okay, so now we want to see a corrective pullback in order for us to pull the trigger. Okay, we can move on to the next one, which is Odd Chef, which looks pretty similar to the one we just discussed about. We have a very nice liquidity sweep followed by a super aggressive break of structure to the downside, breaking multiple lows here. We also left imbalance behind. We have this fair value gap lining up perfectly with our fire zone. And now, as always, we want to see a corrective pullback. As the pullback hasn't yet started, we don't really know if we are going to pull the trigger or not on this trade as well. Okay, and in terms of confluences, check this out. Very beautifully, we have the trade order block lining up perfectly with our area of interest, as well as the graph that is showing us that every single time frame is bearish. Okay, so we can now move on to the next one. I started to explain a bit quicker because there's a lot of pairs that we will go through today. I found a lot of potential setups, and I don't want to make this live session super long because I know that most of you won't be able to spend 40 minutes watching a live session daily. Okay, but of course, throughout the session, make sure to ask me any questions if you have any unclarities. Okay, so on this NZD/USD pair, we found a potential sell limit setup. Nice liquidity sweep followed by a aggressive break of structure to the downside. We have a fair value gap lining up with our area of interest. And now we want to see a corrective pullback. And if we enable the trade org indicator, on this one, we don't really have any confluences. But like I said, sometimes structure is just enough and we don't necessarily need a indicator confluence. Okay. Next up, we have GBP CAD with a nice buy limit potential potential setup. Why? Check this out. Check this aggressive break of structure to the upside that left some huge inefficiency behind. This fair value gap lines up perfectly with our fire zone. And then we had a corrective pullback. As we can see, we had a very corrective pullback towards our fire zone. Price hasn't yet reached it. We also formed some inducement here because people might buy from this level. Okay, and the price could literally stop them out, tap us in, and then go up. So that would be the ideal scenario for us. And in terms of indicator confluence on this one, we don't really have any, so that's perfectly fine. We can move on to the next pair, which is JPY with a very nice sell limit opportunity. So on this one, we have a nice liquidity sweep followed by a aggressive break of structure to the downside. We then have a nice fair value gap lining up perfectly with our fire zone, as well as a order block in our area of interest. Now, again, we want to see a corrective pullback towards our fire zone. And if we enable the trade org SMC indicator, all the time frames besides the daily are bearish. And we also had this trade or quarter block that's kind of lining up with our area of interest. Okay, so yeah, this is it for this pair. We can now move on to the next one, which is NZD CAD with another sell limit opportunity. Check how impulsive price broke down to the price broke structure to the downside right here. Again, we left some fair value gap. We left a fair value gap here. Here we do have some order blocks, but they're unmitigated, so that's why I didn't draw a rectangle on them. But still, this fair value gap gives me a pretty decent confluence that price could fill it before heading lower. And if we enable the trade arc indicator on this one, we don't really have a confluence with it, which is again totally fine. Now we want to see a corrective pullback. That's what we want to see from this setup in order to decide whether we will take it or not. Next up, AuCAD with a very nice sell limit opportunity. As we can see here, we have a very beautiful liquidity sweep right here, followed by a aggressive break of structure to the downside. Again, imbalance has been left behind, fair value gap on our area of interest. And if we enable the trade arc indicator, we have the trade arc order block lining up perfectly with our fire zone, as well as the graph, which is looking very beautifully. Okay, and now again, as always, we want to see a corrective pullback towards our fire zone in order for us to pull the trigger. Okay, and lastly, to end this Forex analysis, to end today's Forex analysis, we have Euro AUD with a very nice buy limit opportunity. Okay, price broke up from this range, I would say, because if we draw a box, let me quickly draw a box right here, we can see that this pair was kind of in a range for the last couple days, for the last couple weeks, actually, not days. And now price looks like it broke up from it. It broke above, basically, because we can see we had these series of highs here, and price finally decided to break higher. Okay, and therefore we have this beautiful buy limit range. We also swept liquidity. We also have a lot of inefficiency. We have this fair value gap lining up perfectly with our fire zone. And if we enable the trade arc indicator, check this out. Very beautiful confluences. The graph looks super green, so every single time frame is bullish. And then we also have this trade arc order block lining up perfectly with our area of interest. Okay, so yeah, that being said, this is pretty much it for today's Forex analysis. If there's any questions, make sure to let us know in the Discord. All right, so now I will go over today's metals analysis, starting off with gold, where we found a potential buy limit opportunity. Okay, so since last time we said that we want to see gold breaking above this area here, which it finally did, for us to then consider a buy limit opportunity to try and take price towards this area here. And that's exactly what happened, because check this out. Price impulsively broke structure to the upside, leaving some very nice imbalance behind. And we also have this unmitigated order block lining up perfectly with our fire zone. Okay. After that, I enabled the trade arc indicator, which again gave me some nice confluences. Okay, we can check the graph, and then we can see that we have the this trade arc order block lining up perfectly with our area of interest. And now we want to see a corrective pullback. And so far, we do have a corrective pullback, which is very, very nice, in order for us to pull the trigger and take this setup. Okay, as simple as possible. We just stick to our plan, and we know that if we stick to it, we are going to be profitable and we are going to stay consistent long term. Okay, so yeah, that's about it for this gold buy limit opportunity. That's exactly why I considered it. And now we can move on to silver. And on silver, we don't really found anything interesting today. Okay, so again, silver rejected nicely from this daily demand level, but it didn't really give me a nice buy limit range. It didn't really give me a nice buy limit range, and now it's pretty much sitting in the middle of nowhere. So I would like to see either a impulsive move to the up or to the downside to be able to determine a range, and then I might look for some possible trade opportunities. But till then, like I said, we're pretty much in the middle of nowhere on this pair. So that's exactly why there's no point for us to force it. We can just leave the chart as is and just focus on what we on the setups that we can clearly identify. Okay, there's no point for us to FOMO into trades that aren't there, okay, in terms of our rules. So yeah, that being said, this pretty much ends today's metals analysis. As always, if there's any questions, make sure to let us know in the Discord. All right, so now I will go over today's indices analysis, starting off with US30, where we have a potential sell limit opportunity. Okay, so check this out. Price rejected from this daily demand level, but it went pretty deep into it. So that makes me think that this demand level here doesn't really have that much strength left. So I do think that price will take over this level and head lower. And check this out. We have a very nice bearish range here. Why? Because price swept liquidity above these two highs, okay? And then it broke structure very aggressively with these two consecutive bearish candles. And if we look closely, we also have fair value gap lining up perfectly with our fire zone. And if we enable the trade arc indicator, again, the daily is bearish, which is very, very important for us, okay? And yeah, now we want to see a corrective pullback towards our fire zone in order for us to pull the trigger and take this setup. Okay, it's as simple as that. So yeah, very nice looking bearish range here on US30. I really like the looks of it. Next up, we have SPX500, and on this one, we have a very nice bullish range. So on this one, check this out. We had a very nice rejection on the daily demand level. If I see a rejection like this, I will be like, okay, that demand level has some serious strength to it. And that's why I think that SPX has some upside. I think it might head towards the 4,500 level. Okay, that's what I think could happen in the near future. And here we formed this very nice bullish range because we broke very aggressively to the upside. We broke structure here, and then we also left some very nice inefficiencies behind. We have this order block that lines up perfectly with our area of interest, and so far we also have a corrective pullback. And if we enable the trade arc indicator, boom, we have the trade arc order block lining up perfectly. And then the graph doesn't really tell us that much on this specific pair, but still a decent amount of confluences for us to consider taking this buy limit opportunity. And lastly, for the indices, we have NAS100. And on this one, to be fair, I don't really see much. We are pretty much in the middle of nowhere. No clear range. I would like to see how it will react to this level here. If I see a very nice drop with some imbalance behind, I might look for some sell limit opportunities. But again, right now we are pretty much in the middle of nowhere on this pair. There's no clear range. We're in the middle of nowhere. So because of that, there's just no point for us to force anything on this pair. Okay. So yeah, that being said, this pretty much ends today's indices analysis. And as always, if there's any questions, make sure to let us know in the Discord. Now, I will go over today's crypto analysis, starting off with Bitcoin, where we have a very nice sell limit opportunity. Okay, and Alex asked me in the live chat, can you look at Euro USD? Okay, so before I continue this crypto analysis, let me quickly go over Euro USD. So Alex, check this out. This is the Euro USD chart, and to be fair, I don't see any possible setup right now on this specific pair. That's why I haven't discussed about it, because I just cannot see any potential ranges on this pair right now. On the daily, yes, it looks very bearish. Okay, we could say that we broke this lower high here, but it's really not a significant break. So until we have a more significant break of structure to the upside, I am still overall bearish on this pair, on Euro USD. So that would be my my bias. And apart from that, like I said, there's no valid range for me to trade right now on this pair. That's why I left it blank and didn't mark up anything on it. So yeah, I hope it makes sense. If there's any more questions, let me know. And yeah, now we can resume the crypto analysis, starting off with Bitcoin, where, like I said, we have a very nice bearish range. Okay, so we had these series of lows here, and price finally decided to break lower. Okay, it broke lower. We formed this nice bearish range. We have this unmitigated order block lining up perfectly with our fire zone. Okay, and now we want to see a corrective pullback, which we so far have. And Alex said, thank you. You're welcome, brother. No worries. I'm here to help. And if we enable the trade arc indicator, check this out. We have this beautiful trade arc order block lining up perfectly with our area of interest. And then the graph shows us that the 4-hour is bearish. Ideally, we would want the daily to be bearish as well, but it's still enough for us to consider this this beautiful bearish opportunity. Okay. Next up we have Ethereum, and on this pair I couldn't find anything. Again, we have a linear drop towards the downside. No clear structure being left behind, no clear range to trade. And if that's the case, it's just a waiting game on this pair, as well as possibly all the other cryptos from what I remember, because I do think I only found a potential setup on Bitcoin. But let's quickly check. Yeah, again, Dogecoin looks pretty in the middle of nowhere as well now. Yes, we had this massive drop. We have this unmitigated order block here, but again, we can see that price went pretty far away from this area of interest up here. So because of that, again, on this cryptocurrency, there's nothing really to discuss about. XRP looks pretty much very similar to Doge and Ethereum. And because of that, again, it's very simple, right? To see that we don't have anything to mark up. Okay, so if that's the case, like I said, there's no point to force it. There's so many other assets we trade, and so many other pairs. So why force trading something that isn't there? Trading a setup that isn't there? Because like I said, staying on the sidelines and knowing when to avoid forcing setups or trading a specific pair or avoiding news is as important as actively trading profitably. Okay, because it doesn't matter if you trade profitably if then you give all that profit back to the markets because you wanted to force a setup on a pair where you just couldn't see any setup, if that makes sense. Okay, and again, Solana looks very similar to the other two pairs we've just to the other two cryptocurrencies we've just discussed about. Okay, so really today the only valid cryptocurrency setup we have is on Bitcoin. Okay, so that's where our focus should be. Okay, this is the only clear setup we have today on the cryptocurrencies. And like I said, that is totally fine. There could be days where there could be no setup valid for that specific day. If that's the case, then we just stay on the sidelines. It is that simple. We don't need to trade every single day, no matter what. Because we are not here to move the markets, because we cannot do that. And if we try to do that, trust me, I tried this before so many times, especially when I started, and I got so many accounts blown, so much stress, so much effort in vain, because we cannot move the markets. We are just here to react to them. So if the markets tells us that, yo, today there's not many setups for you, then I'm gonna be like, okay, I'm gonna sit down, do something else, stay on the sidelines, and tomorrow I'm gonna be back to see if you have something else to give me. That's how we should take it. We're not here to move the markets, okay? So yeah, that being said, this pretty much ends today's crypto analysis. As always, if there's any questions, let us know on Discord.